Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing well and having a good holiday season. So today I'm doing something a little different. This is not a vlog. I want to tell you guys about how I bought my first house at the age of 21, things that worked for me, things that people should consider. The reason why I'm making this video is because some of my friends told me that this upcoming year, they want to embark on the home buying journey. And I'm so excited for them. And they asked me for some tips, some things they should look into. And so for that reason, I was like, well, if they have these questions, maybe some other people do too. And while I'm not an expert, there are a few things that did work for me that I would like to share with y'all. So let's get into it. So number one, anytime you talk to a realtor, the first thing that they'll tell you is to have your documents in order, to have your taxes filed, all of those things, to know your income, know your numbers, know your debt to income ratio, also known as your DTI, and get ready for pre-approval. So you'll submit a bunch of documents to a lender, and that lender will let you know how much, based on, your income, your tax returns, all of that, how much you are eligible for as far as getting a loan. And that loan amount will tell you basically what you should be looking at. It doesn't make sense to look at homes that are $1 million if you only get pre-approved for $250,000. It's just a dream crusher type of experience. It's not anything that you want to do. You will fall in love with these homes that you simply can't afford, and it just doesn't make sense. So you want to make sure that you have your documents in order, have your income and all of those things in line and ready, so that when you talk to your lender, you're able to give them the most possible information that you have and that you know, so that they can give you an accurate pre-approval. So that was something that I knew nothing about, despite, looking at the Instagram accounts and watching the YouTube videos. A lot of people did not talk about pre-approval and how much, that loan process, how important that was, so that it can guide your process when you're even touring properties. Again, some realtors will ask you, if they are the agent who is selling the property, they'll ask you, do you know what your pre-approval is? Because sometimes they only want to show the properties to people who they know are going to be pre-approved and have a good chance of actually buying the property. It makes sense, honestly. I mean, we all love to window shop and to manifest and to dream about future properties, and that's what open houses are for. But as far as if you want to schedule a private, showing of a property, typically they want to know that you're within the range to be eligible for it. So that's important. Number two, I would say make sure that you have a good realtor. So when you're shopping around for realtors, you want to look at someone who aligns with what you want, someone who you feel like would be a good fit for you. During my process, my realtor was literally my best friend. I called her at all times and was like, hey Chris, I have this question. Can you please tell me about this? She explained so much terminology to me. She helped me throughout the entire process, and she was literally holding my hand throughout it all, and that is so important. What I learned throughout, self-educating, watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts and things like that, sometimes you can find a really bad realtor who can have you setting unrealistic expectations, and that's not what Chris did. She literally showed me properties that were in the price range of what I wanted to pay, and only those properties, and some that were, of course, below what I wanted to, because she wanted me to make sure that I was getting something that not only could I afford on paper, but that I felt comfortable with getting. And at the age of 21, that's super important, because it's a really big decision to be making at such a young age. And so you want to find someone that is going to have your best interest in mind at all times, as far as what they're showing you, even the lenders that they're recommending you to. Chris thought about all of those things. We had extensive conversations about my lifestyle, what I did on a day-to-day basis, how I envisioned using my space, and what I wanted my space to look like, feel like, where I wanted to be in town, what type of neighborhood I wanted, the types of neighbors that I may have wanted, just things like that. That's all really important, and things that you may read or, videos that you may watch may not tell you that, but that's so important. Really think about the overall vibe of what you want your home to be like, feel like, and then discuss that with your realtor, and then they can come up with some properties that are, you know, in alignment with those things that you expressed. Also, I will say that having a realtor who has that dog in them, and when I say that, I mean someone who's gonna go to the negotiations and really fight for you, is so important, because unfortunately, when I bought my house, it was like the market was crazy. It was summer of 2022. Again, I was 21 years old, so already, you know, I'm coming in, people are gonna underestimate me, gonna try to tell me that they can't go lower as far as price. They're not gonna tell me the ins and outs, the little secret gems that you should know when looking to purchase a property. Like, what are the grants? What are the ways that you can minimize closing costs? Like, all of those little things. If you don't get the right realtor, they may not tell you, because realtors do make money off of commission. So essentially, like, a certain percentage of what you pay for your house. And so that's important to also know, because sometimes realtors, I've heard horror stories of where they may not necessarily get the price down as low as they possibly could, because they're looking out for that commission that they're gonna get on the back end. So just think about that. But yeah, like, Chris was amazing. I was like, Chris, like, I don't want to pay this much. Can we talk it down to this? She negotiated a great price for me, and then also got some of my closing costs covered as well. And that's something that I didn't know about prior to starting my process of buying a home. But over time, I would see, you know, social media accounts mentioning that and trying to get closing costs covered. She made sure that the person who did my inspection was very thorough, which is really important, because you don't want to buy a house and the inspector just went through and checked the boxes and just did the bare minimum. No, you want someone who's really gonna look at everything with like very attentive eyes, and someone who's really gonna pay attention to all the little details, because if they don't, you could end up with a property and then months later you're having to pay for, you know, outrageous costs to fix things that should have been discussed prior to closing. So I highly recommend getting a realtor who knows lenders well, has good relationships with lenders and the people who do the inspections. You want someone who knows those people well, who can get you reliable people, and who makes sure that those processes go smoothly. I really appreciated having Chris call her personal contacts and find people who did a really good job and who really cared about me and my process and checked in with me. Like, even my lender, he answered so many questions for me, and that made me feel way less anxious about the process overall. So yes, your realtor. If out of all of these tips, I would say there's a number one, I would say your realtor. Yes, pre-approval, yes, pre-approval, but your realtor is so important, and I cannot like emphasize that enough. Also, when choosing the house that you want, really think about what you want to do in that house. Do you want to make one of the rooms an office? Do you want to just have straight up guest rooms? Do you want to have, you know, like an at-home, like, quiet oasis? Do you want to have a reading room, a study? Like, what is it that you want in your home? Are you an entertainer? Like, what does it look like to have people over? I thought about those things really meticulously throughout my process, because I know I like to have people over. I know I like to host. I like to have indoor and outdoor gatherings, and that was really important for me. So think about those things. Also think about the neighborhood that you want to be in. Like, what's the vibe? Is it quiet? Is it near a train track? Like, sometimes we overlook those types of things. Like, is there a train that goes through the neighborhood? But until you wake up at 3 a.m. because a train is rumbling your whole house, that's when you're like, oh shoot, I really need to think about this. Think about those things in the earlier stages of your process, so that later you're not having buyer's remorse. And I feel like people really do experience that. Like, I read about it and I didn't think I would experience it. And I love my house. I'm very happy with the decision that I made, but like, definitely the week after buying, I was still on Zillow like, ooh, I could have got this, I could have got that. And so really, you want to make sure that you make a decision that's good for you. And you know, the brunches that I had on my lawn for like celebrating 1 year being in my house, my grad party where I had these huge tents up and a DJ and cocktail tables, like, it reinforced to me that I made the best decision for me at the time, and that I'm still very happy with the home that I have. Another thing that I would say is save. When you know that this is a process that you want to embark on, please begin to save, because literally within the first month of me being in my home, not only did I have to furnish this thing, I had to get a new washer and dryer, and that cost me a smooth like $1,700 to get a front loader, stackable, because the space that I have, I couldn't have side by side, so I needed something that could stack. And baby, during the pandemic, the prices were up there. Then even putting like installing blinds and like sliding doors and things like that. Just think about all of those costs because, you know, again, everyone glamorizes this idea of buying a home, but sometimes it's not the best financial decision for you in the long term. You may have the money for the down payment and for closing and all of those things, and even for furniture, but do you also have the money to make repairs? Think about that. Okay, y'all, so my camera died, but I'm back. On the topic of savings, I would say that it's important to have multiple different types of savings accounts. And by that, I'm talking about like your CDs, you know, your high yield savings accounts, different types of savings aside from just your normal traditional savings account. I would say to really think about how to diversify your savings accounts in order to like bring in more money is really important. I know for me, when I first purchased my house, I had a high yield savings account that I called my house fund. And like I said, within the first month, I had to buy a new washer and dryer. Since then, I've had to pay for other expenses where it didn't feel like a heavy lift because I was just able to go ahead and do it. I had to renovate my master bathroom. It wasn't like a necessary thing, but the type of tub, like the shower that was in there, wasn't the best. And just because my house is older and some of the like building standards and building code things had changed since the house was built. And so, you know, you can kind of see some of those dated like pipes and, you know, dated draining systems and things like that that really needed to be replaced. And so renovating that upstairs primary bathroom, sorry, I know we're not supposed to say master anymore, which makes sense. Trust me, I'm 100% in support of that. But in my primary bedroom and that bathroom, being able to renovate that didn't feel like such a heavy lift. And so just thinking about things like that, having that house fund or that savings account helped me a lot. And, you know, that's one thing that my realtor recommended. A lot of the different financial advisors that I spoke with or that I followed on social media and, you know, engaged with their content, that's something that they said. So I definitely took that to heart. I'm glad I did. And I would highly recommend it to anyone else who's starting like a house journey, just like not just the money to make your bedroom look cute and to get your dining room table and your sofa and your beds, but also like to have for, you know, a year down the line, 2 months, 1 month in my case, or even 5 years down the line, like having that money set aside is so important. So I would really recommend that. But yeah, there are so many things that I learned, y'all, throughout the process that I just would say like self-educating is so important. Like educating yourself about these things, talking to people who are homeowners, getting their advice, getting recommendations around like plumbers, electricians, people who you will need to help maintain your home is very important. So making sure that you have those contacts already is something that is really helpful. And I know for me, like I was starting from ground zero, like though I have family members, you know, like my mom, my grandma, other homeowners in my family, like being able to find people during the pandemic was a challenge. There were so many different like apartment complexes either being renovated or being built in the area, which made it really challenging to find companies that could do like emergency plumbing services or, you know, other things like that, electrical work, you know, power washing, roof work, or gutters, things like that. So everyone has their ideas or opinions about HOAs, and I would just say that homeowners associations, like they are a mixed bag, you know, it depends on whether your HOA is restrictive or not. In my case, luckily, like my HOA isn't super restrictive and there aren't a ton of rules. I think that it's good though, because the aesthetic, those like types of standards and things like that make sense. And, you know, when looking at certain neighborhoods, an HOA should exist. When you think about the layout, when you think about the way that it's designed, it makes sense. And so I think the number one thing that I would say, again, aside from your realtor being your best friend, and so you should choose wisely, and like thinking about being prepared, pre-approval, saving, like to think about what fits your needs, what fits not only your needs, but your personality, who you are, your lifestyle, what you want. Like all of those things are so important. And I'm still learning a lot about homeownership, like almost 2 years in. And I'm sure that I will continue to learn a lot throughout my homeownership journey. I think one thing that I struggle with is when on social media, there's so many different conversations and people try to make certain people feel bad about being homeowners. And I think that there's a difference between being a slumlord, a landlord who, you know, exploits people, versus owning a home so that you can have stability and build some wealth for yourself and for your family to be able to survive in a time that is so uncertain. For me, getting my rental renewal letter after my first year of living in my luxury apartment and seeing that the rent was gonna go up so much, I was like, oh, I cannot justify paying this much more per month for this apartment, especially when knowing like some of the issues that I had with like getting some things repaired in my apartment, or like, you know, just the time and the way that things were done. Don't get me wrong, it was very well maintained, they were well taken care of, the units themselves, the leasing people were really nice, the front office folks were so kind, but overall, again, I just didn't want to continue to line the pockets of someone else for that amount per month. I was like, for all that, if I have the ability to, I would rather have my own space. And like I said, I don't regret my decision. I'm so happy with the home that I've had. You know, I've been able to give someone, a family friend, somewhere to stay for a few months. They needed somewhere to go. I've been able to host family when they're in town, host friends, like have so many gatherings and just have a good time. And I love hosting, so it makes sense. But I just think that, yeah, like every day is literally a new lesson learned. There's always something where I'm like, oh, I didn't know that this house had this, or I didn't know that I needed to do XYZ when the seasons change. So it's a steep learning curve, but I feel like it's worth it in the end. And as a Black woman, as a young Black woman, I am so excited for other Black women who tell me that they're embarking on this journey, because, you know, being able to have our own, being able to build wealth for our families and for ourselves is really important. And I hate that society, when Black people tap into certain things, when Black people begin to own homes, when Black people begin to have conversations about development or begin to participate in certain processes, then it's evil, right? And it's just, I feel like there's always this like moving of the goalposts, and it's just really unfortunate. And knowing what I know about my family's histories and legacies, and knowing what I know about the Black people who I grew up being in community with, homeownership is something that's really important. And it was a journey that I knew that I wanted to take. And so when I was able to, that is something that I was committed to doing. And so if you're able to, and you want to, and it's something that works for you, 100% do it. I think it's important to know that like owning isn't for everyone. Like, I think that's important. Not to say that everyone shouldn't have the opportunity to own a home. That's not at all what I'm saying. But I think that like you have to, again, think about where you are in life and what's best for you. And so this podcast that I love listening to, the Financial Feminist podcast, Tori Dunlap talks about it a lot. Like I said, like you have to make the decision that makes the most sense for you. And I think in this world that we live in, like you get on social media and one person's doing something, so you think you have to do it. And that's just not the case. Like you have to do what is right for you when it is right for you. And if it's not, then don't. Like, don't feel pressured to be having a house by 25 or to be accomplishing certain things by certain ages if it doesn't make sense for your life. And so, yeah, that's what I would say. Like, again, realtor is your best friend. I keep repeating this because it's so important. Your realtor is going to be your best friend and your best advocate. Save. Pre-approval, have your documents together, be ready. Think about what is good for your lifestyle. Think about what you want, your desires. Don't buy something just to rush the process and just to say you own something. Like, think about your lifestyle, how it's gonna fit for you. Because trust me, I toured multiple properties and there were a few where I was like, oh, it's gonna be perfect, it's gonna be the best for me. And now looking back, I'm like, I'm so glad that I did not move there. Okay, so just breathe in, breathe out, because it's definitely a stressful process. I can definitely attest to that, but staying grounded in, you know, what your purpose is, what you're trying to do, and why you're doing it. Do what is best for you. Like, so many people are gonna have their opinions. They might try to dissuade you from doing certain things, but again, just because you're young doesn't mean that you're not knowledgeable, for one, and that's something that we can talk about at another time, but it's facts. Just because you're young also does not mean that you are not capable. Your youth doesn't make you incapable of doing big things. It doesn't make you incapable of doing hard things. So take everyone's advice with a grain of salt, or listen to who you want to listen to, and take good, sound advice. But everyone isn't always, you know, your best advocate in this journey, and that's something I learned too. So don't allow the negativity, the doubts of others to seep in. There's a difference between real criticism, constructive criticism, and like real concerns, and then there's just hater energy. And during this process, you'll get a lot of hater energy, and I know I did. And honestly, it's so important to just block that out and keep your eyes on your end goal. So I would love to answer questions. If you have any, put them in the comments below. I can definitely make another video. But again, I bought my first house at 21. I learned a lot, and if I can share information with other people, I would love to, and I will. Thanks for watching, and see y'all soon. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with others. If you know someone who's about to start this journey of home ownership, definitely share this with them. I tried to share things that worked for me, so I hope it's helpful to someone else. Okay, see you guys soon. Bye.